is now 5:15.
Don't forget to push your button.
Yeah. Now we'll go ahead and call the October meeting of the Board of Aviation Commissioners for the City of Warsaw to order. You all should have received first your
Minutes.
minutes and the agenda and other information for this meeting, including the minutes from the September meeting.
They did, yeah, they didn't print for whatever reason, so just sign wherever.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes?
No.
If not,
I
I'll,
would make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
You need to sign?
been moved to approve the minutes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the September meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Next, claims. What of particular interest do you have for us, Nick?
The only one that's out of the ordinary, the $3,080.40 for Ascent Aviation Group, that was for our annual filter changes on all of the fuel trucks and out at the fuel farm both. Other than that, pretty quiet month, unless there's a specific question that I can answer.
You didn't spend a lot of money in September.
Nope,
Keep it up.
we're trying,
Do that again.
We're trying to keep it low.
Yeah, do that again.
I make a motion to accept the claims as presented, especially the Ascent Aviation for $35,090.95.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Next, Ken. Got good stuff to tell us.
Yeah, last month we told you about the runway power lines, all the planning being complete. This month we can confirm that the airport layout plan is now finalized and complete. September 30th, Gary Wilson told us that he had signed the title sheet and had issued the approval letter, but before he could arrive, he sent us a revised one on October 1st. I attached a copy of the letter here for your review. It's standard letter. It's what they call a conditional approval, which basically means we've done the airspace, we approve it. However, you still have some things to do before we can fund things like environmental reviews and airspaces and all those good things. So, but this is their standard boilerplate letter, and so we now consider that planning project complete. To back that up, Delora also sent Nick and I a copy of the grant AIP 12 closure letter as well. Next step is we're ready in line for the funding for the runway rehab. We're in line for the power line lowering project in 2021. The next project after that was the starting to recover the displaced threshold. This spring should be done with the environmental assessment, and should be because that has to be done before September 30th in order to qualify, September 30th, 2021, in order to qualify for 2022 funding. We'll be a full year ahead of schedule on that one. So everything's good. We're in good shape and very happy for a change.
Good work. We're glad to see it.
Thank you.
Says no invoices or pay requests.
And
to be
like Nick,
submitted.
I kept costs low this month.
Okay, okay. Any questions for Ken about any of that?
Nope.
Ron, anything? Seems like you're so far away with nobody in between. Wave if you need anything. Okay, well, we're done with the engineer report, and now we will go to our manager's report.
Fuel usage has continued fairly flat for the month. We are still down from where we were last year, about 115,000 gallons. Like I've told you guys the past couple months, I really think by the end of this year, we will be in the anywhere from 115 to 140,000 gallons short of where we were last year. It's a slower economy. It's not it's not just Warsaw. Most airports across the state are having lower fuel sales than they have in the past. I should say smaller GA airports, that is. But again, because of the price restructuring and the flattening of that, our revenue has stayed flat, so
Our gross revenue, if I'm reading this right, is actually up slightly.
it is, yes.
And now that's gross revenue. That's not profit necessarily.
Correct.
Any feel for that? I don't think we have that broken down here, do we?
In the income statement, you'll see that, but
Okay.
after our expenses, I mean, we still are in the red for the year.
I'm just talking about income from fuel.
Income from
Yeah.
fuel, though, no, we are still making money on fuel,
Yeah.
and our profits are going up because of that fuel
Okay, that's what I was
restructuring.
asking.
Yeah,
Gross
I'm
revenues are
sorry.
going up, and you think profits are going up on the fuel as
Yep,
well?
yep.
Okay, well, that's good.
So if we can get that fuel back to, I mean, we will never be back at the same level where we were when you've got two companies that both of them were purchasing anywhere from 15 to 40,000 gallons a month, and they have merged into one company. They're not going
They
to.
didn't do that with the purpose of doubling their
Correct.
company's expenses. That's right,
Correct.
yeah.
And so seeing that, we have to restructure how we look at our fuel, but that, the fuel repricing has flatlined that, like I said, quite a bit. We are still lower than most other airports in northern Indiana as far as our jet fuel costs. Avgas, we are pretty right in the middle. I mean, there's some days we're the cheapest, other days we're not. It just kind of depends on who buys their fuel when right now. Fuel pricing is fluctuating anywhere from, I mean, it could go up or down 17 to 30 cents in a day, depending on the day of the week and when it is. Jet fuel changes Saturdays, Tuesdays, and
Jet is just Tuesdays.
Tuesdays. Avgas is
It's
Saturdays.
Wednesday
and-
and Saturday.
Yeah. So, this week, I think jet fuel went up like 8 cents, yeah. So we're just on we're watching oil prices just like the rest of the world right now and hoping that, we stay competitive. But that is the benefit of our price structure. It's a cost plus. So whatever we pay for it, it works out for the airport then, so. And we haven't had complaints from customers either, so that's been a positive. We still are having jets come in and comment on how inexpensive our fuel is at Warsaw, so that's good.
Okay.
Have we come up with any landing and leaving?
We have not. John and Dan and I have been meeting about our land lease restructuring. That is going through legal and through the FAA right now. They need to get their eyes on it, make sure that the draft that I have I'm not an attorney, so an attorney needs to look over everything and make sure that what we have in there is correct. The FAA wanted their eyes on it just to make sure that we meet our grant assurances. The previous lease that we had was fine when we wrote that lease 25 years ago, but because we haven't updated it, there are some grant assurances that have changed over those years. And so for us to continue to be eligible for federal dollars, we just need to make a couple of those changes. Perfect example, the FAA does not like leases lasting longer than 30 years outside of an extenuating circumstance. If a company comes in, the example I was given, if a company comes in and says, we're going to build a $17 million hangar at your airport, obviously you can contact the FAA and say, look, they are making a very large improvement to the airport. This is what they are bringing in. Can we give them a longer lease? The FAA will be lenient with that. But previously, we were giving 30 and sometimes 40 or 50-year leases, depending on the type of infrastructure that was in place. That wasn't wrong when we did it, but today, they would rather just make sure that the airport isn't overextending itself, because again, their goal is to make the airport as profitable as possible, so that they have to, we can fund ourselves. So it's just little tweaks like that throughout the lease that we're really changing.
Okay. Any other questions about those reports? Okay, what else you got for us, Mr. King?
Before we move on to new business, I will just say, Jay, with your vacation, and then the mayor was out of office for a few days as well. The selection committee has not yet had a chance to meet. I'm sorry, Toby, we don't have any new news at this time. We are still working towards that, and I'm hoping, I'm gone next week for my state conference. I am hoping that we can get together as a selection committee the following week and sit down and start looking at the three submittals that we do have for airport consultant, and start really putting pen to paper with that, and maybe have some more news at the next board meeting.
Okay, well, that following week is a real good week to get on my calendar right
Okay.
now, because I've got two things that are filling the calendar, but they're not gonna happen. So
Okay.
I got open time, I know I'll have open time, so.
I will try and get
Get
that
with me.
scheduled tomorrow
Yeah,
then.
Okay.
Other than that, new business. Hangar 6I, I'm looking at Miss Linda. 6I, Rednoff is proposing to sell his hangar to Mark Fox. And Mark is going to purchase that hangar for $9,000 pending the board's refusal of your first right. I support this 100%. It will be very sad to not have Red as an airport tenant anymore. We just celebrated Red's 96th birthday 2 months ago, so he's been an airport airport icon for a lot of years, and he actually gave me my first airplane ride when I was a little kid, so it means a lot to me.
You're giving the Wright brothers their first.
Very well may have. Mark has actually been renting from different people at the airfield and has been looking for a permanent home, and is very excited to have a hangar that he can put his aircraft in and then become a permanent part of the Warsaw Airport family. So
Yeah,
I 100% support this.
It's, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry, Mr. Knopf has been a strong part for a
Yeah.
long time, so we're sorry to see him leave, but glad he's still celebrating his.
He's still coming out, and Tuesdays and
Time with us.
Thursdays at
Yep.
5 o'clock, you can still come out and have a cup of coffee with him. So
Okay.
if you guys approve this, I'll have you sign these leases then.
We need a motion on that to approve that. I make that motion.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
Been moved and second, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say nay. Motion carried.
Which?
18, that one. And Jason, Jason is back. We discussed at the last airport, Linda, there's that. At the last airport board meeting, they are currently renting 18H, one of our airport-owned T hangars. And they are looking at putting roughly $4,500 worth of permanent improvements into that building. And they were wondering if there was some way that the airport would adjust their land or their hangar rent to help offset the cost of those improvements to the building. They are improvements that if we had more money, I would love to do them to all of the hangars. Right now, it's just not a priority. We don't have, we have other projects that we are putting our money towards. And so I sat down and I've talked with Jason, and I've looked over what our expenses are. If we were to put them on an annual land rent or hangar rent of roughly $200 for the next 3 years, the $200 a year would cover what our cost is in the building for electric and for door maintenance and other general maintenance for their specific hangar. And then it would also help them recover the cost of the permanent improvements that they would be putting into that building as well.
Okay.
But we've never done anything like this as an airport before, and I'm bringing this as one suggestion.
Okay.
And I think that that's a fair way moving forward. They're helping us, we're helping them. It just depends on how the board wants to move.
Without going into a lot of detail, because I don't want to ruffle any feathers, let me ask, is the Aviator Flying Club, is that organized and operated somewhat more like a classical flying club under FAA regs than other
Yes.
organizations that have used the word flying club over the years?
It is very much an
Okay.
a flying club. We don't take students. It's just for our personal enjoyment,
Yeah.
flying the airplane.
Okay, well, I'm more, if you think that's a good proposal, I'm more comfortable with that, given what I have just heard from the two of you. That's my
And
feeling about it. So.
I agree with what he just said as
Yeah.
well. So, If the board is okay with that, I'll put together a lease agreement. Do you feel that that's fair? I mean, I was sitting here doing the math.
Yeah, we don't take any action till we actually see the lease, but we don't wanna make him spend the time to do it, so.
So right now, at $150 a month, that would be $5,400 over the 3 years. If we go to a $200 a year payment, that, like I said, that covers all of our costs that we would have towards that T hangar.
We
So-
put a lease like that together, seem okay to you two?
I mean, I prefer 4 years, but,
Okay,
yeah. I'm amenable to that, it's a good deal, I think.
okay.
Okay, well, but the basic structure's okay, that's the,
Yes, sir.
the length of it's just a.
Are you guys okay with a 4-year lease at $200 a year? Or would you rather that be a little, what's your feeling on that?
I think if you, whichever you come to us with your recommendation, I think we're probably gonna approve,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna get down in the weeds of whether it's a 3-year or a 4-year lease, you're the one that's got an idea what the costs are.
Sounds good. We'll figure something out.
Okay.
That goes back to Linda. Sorry, Ken. Last thing on the list, we were just doing our year-end hangar audits, and Hangar 2 came up. Al Hoover currently owns Hangar 2. He has, in the last 12 months, moved out of Warsaw. He and his wife now live in Colorado. He sent me this letter this morning. I did talk to him on the phone, but he would like to assign his building and all of the assets in Hangar 2 to his son Brian. He's not in town to maintain it anymore. Brian would like to take over ownership of Hangar 2, and he's actually going to do quite a few improvements to the building. John, you visit the airport frequently. You will agree that Hangar 2 needs a little bit of TLC.
Just a little bit, yep.
And Brian's actually going to completely resheet the entire building in all new metal, put a new roof on it, put a new door on the front of the building. So he's going to be putting some definite improvements into the building. We just need to get it assigned over to Brian. So if the board is amenable to that, you just need to waive your right of first refusal. And then I actually wrote up a lease for Brian to take over Hangar 2.
Would the lease convert, or does he have to sign a brand new lease?
I was looking at it, the current lease is up in 2023, and it's just cleaner if we just give Brian a new lease now, but you can make a decision one way or the other. I would say just sign a new lease and be done with it, but.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So am I.
Okay.
That's fine.
So moved by Gene,
Yep.
seconded.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say nay, motion carried.
Other than that, I am going to my state aviation conference next week. I will be gone Tuesday through Saturday. And if you guys, unless you guys have anything else, that's all I have.
Where is it?
This year it's in Michigan City.
Oh, okay.
And then as soon as
Long
that is
drive.
over, as soon as that's over, I actually head out to Iowa. My alma mater is having they just opened a brand-new aviation center. And the airport is opening a brand-new terminal at the same time, and so I was invited out, and we're gonna go see what their new terminal looks like and what the new aviation center looks like, and
Yeah.
maybe get some ideas for our airport here.
And you're one of their success stories, so
Well,
I'm sure they're
hopefully.
glad to have you.
Hopefully, yeah.
Mm.
So I'm excited to go out and see some of my old profs and see how that airport's really expanding.
Okay. Well, good, good. We'll do all the networking that we've had so far. They've been successful at the conference, so.
It's actually kind of
Keep
exciting.
working.
We had, in August, we had, in September, we had 4 different flights with pilots from my alma mater, so it was, that originated in Dubuque, so it was fun just to
No.
catch up with them a little bit and see what's going on, so.
Okay, any more questions for the airport manager?
Nope.
Any other issues to be brought to the attention? Okay, well, hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting, and the next meeting, I believe, is November 12th? Does that sound right?
November 12th.
Yep. And we will see you at the next meeting.